The keycard in my pocket felt like a live coal, burning a hole through the fabric and into my thigh. I kept my hand closed around it, the sharp edges of the plastic digging into my palm. It was real. This was real. The elevator at the W Hotel chimed softly, a polite, obnoxious sound. Floor 14. The doors slid open onto a hallway of muted grays and soft, indirect lighting. It smelled like lemongrass and money. It smelled like her. 2 years. The number pulsed in my head with every step I took down the carpeted corridor. 730 days of feeling like I was going crazy, of asking myself, is it me? Am I not enough? Am I paranoid? Of her telling me I was exactly those things. Bitter, resentful, paranoid, controlling. It's a girl's trip, babe, I just need to decompress. You wouldn't understand. Right, decompress in the W Hotel in Scottsdale with her work friend, Max, the one she swore she'd only known for a few months, the one whose name started popping up on her phone at 11 p.m. with a simple, "Hey, you up?" I stopped in front of room 1427. A sliver of light bled from underneath the door. I could hear the low thump of music from inside, a bass line I couldn't quite place. My heart was a trapped bird against my ribs. I'd imagined this moment 1,000 times in the black, sleepless hours of the past week, ever since the private investigator's email had landed in my inbox with its attached photos and the subject line, requested surveillance, Scottsdale, AZ. The photos weren't graphic, they didn't need to be, they were damning in their domesticity. Her laughing at someone out of frame, her head thrown back. Her holding hands with a man who wasn't me while they walked through a farmer's market. Her kissing him goodbye, a quick, familiar peck as she got into a car. 2 years. The PI had traced it back. 2 years of dinners out, of hotel check-ins, of little gifts on her credit card that she'd explained away as treating myself. 2 years of her coming home to me, crawling into our bed and letting me hold her. I slid the keycard into the slot. The light blinked green. I pushed the door open. The room was a suite. A half-empty bottle of Dom Perignon sat in a bucket on the coffee table, next to 2 flutes. Her new weekender bag, the one she'd bought last month and told me was a knockoff, was draped over a chair. Clothes were scattered on the floor like a breadcrumb trail leading to the bedroom door, which was slightly ajar. I didn't knock. I pushed it open. And there she was. My wife, Chloe. Naked, tangled in the crisp white hotel sheets with a man I'd never met, but whose face I knew intimately from the PI's photos. Max. The scene froze, a tableau of flesh and betrayal. Chloe's eyes flew open, wide and glassy. For a second there was pure, unadulterated shock. Then, a flicker of something else. Calculation? Fear? She opened her mouth but no sound came out. Max scrambled, a flurry of limbs grabbing for the sheet. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. All the anguish, the self-doubt, the years of being told I was the problem, it all crystallized into a cold, hard diamond in my chest. I reached into my jacket pocket, but not for the keycard this time. I pulled out the manila envelope, thick with legal papers, and tossed it onto the foot of the bed. It landed with a soft, heavy thud. "Surprise," I said. My voice was steady. It surprised me. "Your girl trip is over. It's divorce papers. I've already signed them." The silence in that hotel room was deafening, broken only by the rustle of sheets as Max finally managed to cover himself. He looked nothing like the photos. In person, he just looked ordinary, scared. A guy in his late 30s with a receding hairline and a gym body that suddenly seemed pathetic. Chloe just stared at the envelope, then at me. The shock was morphing, her features hardening into something defensive. This is not what it looks like," she stammered, pulling the sheet up to her chin. A reflex, as if modesty mattered now. "Don't," I said, holding up a hand. "Just don't. I know about the last 2 years. I know about the hotel in Portland. The weekend you were visiting your sister. I know about the cabin in Big Bear. I've got photos, credit card receipts, phone records. It's all in there." The color drained from her face. Max, to his credit, looked like he wanted to sink into the floor and disappear. He started mumbling something, reaching for his pants. "Look, man, I'm sorry, I didn't know she was—" "Get out," I said, not even looking at him. My eyes were locked on Chloe. "Get dressed and get out. The adults are talking." He scrambled, grabbing his clothes, practically falling over himself as he fled into the main room. The door to the suite slammed a moment later, and then it was just us, Chloe and me, and the wreckage of 7 years. "You followed me," she whispered, her voice trembling with a manufactured hurt. You hired someone to follow me. You fucked someone else for 2 years, I shot back, the venom finally seeping into my voice. Don't you dare try to make this about my methods. She got out of bed, wrapping the sheet around herself like a toga. She stood there, the picture of wounded indignation. I was going to tell you, she said, her eyes darting away, then back to me, trying to find a foothold. It was a mistake. A series of mistakes. It got out of hand. A mistake is forgetting to buy milk, Chloe. A mistake is sending a text to the wrong person. I stepped closer. 2 years of secret hotel rooms and lies isn't a mistake. It's a double life. Her eyes hardened. The scared, caught in the act look was gone, replaced by something colder. You don't know what it was like. You were so checked out, so focused on work. You made me feel invisible. The old familiar guilt tried to surface. Was I? Did I? I crushed it. Don't you dare. I asked you for 2 years what was wrong. I begged you to talk to me. You told me I was being paranoid. You told me I was imagining things. You made me feel like I was the crazy one. I thought back to all those nights, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe, my mind a hurricane of doubt. I remembered finding a receipt for a romantic dinner for 2, and she'd laughed it off, saying she'd treated a girlfriend who was going through stakod fraba, sigrover damned, otsperkeller, bandor nang spy den koffer obi paim, bandor durin that skrine kon na per umber mind per. I remembered the way she'd flinch when I touched her, the new perfume she wore, the way she'd guard her phone like a state secret. She hadn't just cheated, she'd systematically dismantled my trust in my own perception. She'd made me an accessory to my own cuckolding. This isn't a discussion, I said, pointing at the envelope. That is a dissolution of marriage. I'm being more than generous. You can keep the car, you can keep the furniture. I just want out. My lawyer will be in touch. I turned to leave. I had what I came for. The confrontation. The look on her face. The keycard in my pocket had cooled. It was just a piece of plastic now. Her voice stopped me at the bedroom door. It was laced with a bitter, incredulous anger. You know what? This is exactly why. This right here. You're so cold. So cruel. You couldn't wait to pounce, could you? You've been wanting to do this for years. You're just a bitter, resentful person who was looking for an excuse. I turned back. The audacity of it stole my breath for a second. I'm bitter and resentful for not being able to see past you fucking another man for 730 days? It was just a sexual thing, she spat, the words tumbling out in a rush. It didn't mean anything. It was about feeling seen, feeling desired. It had nothing to do with you. But you'll never understand that. You'll just use this to play the victim. Just a sexual thing. For 2 years. The words hung in the air, and in them, I heard the truth. She wasn't sorry for what she'd done. She was sorry she got caught. She was sorry for the outcome, not the action. There was no regret in her eyes for the pain she'd caused, only frustration at the mess she now had to deal with. She felt seen. She felt desired. By him. I didn't say another word. I just walked out. The drive back from Scottsdale was a blur of desert and asphalt. I don't remember stopping, don't remember the music or the podcasts. I just remember the feeling of the cold, hard diamond in my chest finally beginning to crack. By the time I pulled into my own driveway, no, our driveway, it had shattered, and the grief flooded in. I sat in the dark car for an hour, in the garage, letting it wash over me. 2 years. The math wasn't just about time, it was about intimacy. It was about every time I'd held her and she'd been thinking of him. Every time we'd made love, I'd been sharing her with a ghost I didn't know existed. The next few days were a mechanical blur. My phone blew up. Chloe's mom called, sobbing, asking if we could talk this out. I sent her to voicemail. Chloe's texts evolved from defensive to pleading to a bizarre, calculated sweetness. Thinking of you. Remember our first trip to Big Sur? I miss us. I didn't respond. My lawyer, a pitbull named Diana, who didn't blink at the evidence, told me to maintain radio silence. Let her spin, she said. She's going to try every trick in the book. The goal now is to get you out clean. A week after the hotel, I was home, packing up my office. It was my sanctuary, the one room in the house that was truly mine. I was boxing up books when I heard a car pull into the driveway. A moment later, the front door opened. It was Chloe. She looked wrecked. No makeup. Hair, a mess. Red-rimmed eyes. She was wearing an old faded Stanford sweatshirt of mine she'd commandeered years ago. The sight of it was a gut punch. It was a deliberate costume, a uniform of the past. "Please," she said, her voice small. "Please just listen. For 5 minutes. You owe me that." I owed her nothing. But I was curious. And maybe, some sick, hopeful part of me, the part that still remembered the woman I married, wanted to hear what she had to say. I leaned against the doorframe of my office, arms crossed. "You have 5 minutes." She stepped closer, hands clasped in front of her. "I'm a mess," she began. "I haven't eaten. I haven't slept. I can't believe I did this to us. To you." The tears started, well-timed and perfect. I ended it with him, completely. It was nothing. He was nothing. A symptom, not the disease. "And what was the disease?" I asked, my voice flat. "Us. Me. I don't know." She put a hand on her chest. "I lost myself. I felt invisible, and instead of being a grown-up and talking to you, I did this horrible, selfish thing. I made a terrible, terrible mistake." There it was again. Mistake. Singular. Not the 2 years of calculated deceit, not the hundreds of lies. A mistake. "I want to fix it," she whispered, taking another step. "I want to fix us. I'll do anything. Counseling, a trial separation, whatever you need. I will spend the rest of my life making this up to you." Her eyes searched mine, looking for a crack, a weakness. I thought about the PI's timeline. The affair had started 6 months after we'd bought this house. A house we chose together, painted together. All the while she was building a life with him on the side. I thought about all the weekends I'd worked on the garden, thinking I was building a future for us, while she was at the spa with Max. "Anything?" I asked. "Yes," she breathed, a flicker of hope in her eyes. "Anything." "Then tell me why," I said. "Not the bullshit about feeling invisible. The real why." "Did you love him?" She hesitated, just for a fraction of a second, but I saw it. "No," she said quickly. "It was never about love. It was just the attention, the newness. It was exciting. It made me feel good about myself. It was just a sexual thing." She said it again. Just a sexual thing. She was trying to minimize it, to make it palatable. But all I heard was that for 2 years, the excitement of fucking someone else was more important than the truth with me. The attention he gave her was more valuable than the life I was trying to build. "And now?" I asked. "Now that it's over, how do you feel?" The tears welled up again, but this time, they felt different. Performative. "I feel like I've destroyed the best thing in my life. I feel empty and scared." Not regret. Emptiness. The fun thing was taken away. The toy was gone. She didn't regret the affair. She regretted the fallout. "I'm sorry, Chloe," I said, and for the first time I felt a flicker of something other than rage. It was pity. "I can't." Chloe's face crumpled. "You can't what? You can't even try? You're just going to throw away 7 years without a fight? You had the fight for 2 years, I said, my voice quiet. I was just the last to know. She left shortly after, the performance over, replaced by a sullen silence. The texts resumed, but they were angrier now. Little jabs. Everyone thinks you're being extreme. My mom is heartbroken. You're not the man I thought you were. People make mistakes. That was the new chorus from her family, from the few mutual friends she'd managed to turn. People make mistakes, and you're being so harsh. I started to feel like I was living in a parallel universe. A mistake is a one-night stand you confess to the next morning, racked with guilt. Not a secret relationship that spans 2 fucking years. I needed someone who understood, someone who didn't need the backstory. That's when I thought of her. The other woman. Not Max's wife or girlfriend. He was conveniently single. The coward. No, I thought of the woman in the PI's photos, the one who was always just on the periphery, the one Chloe had texted me about, saying, "My new work friend Maya is so cool, you'd love her." Maya. The one Chloe had been using as an alibi for girls' nights that were really nights with Max. The PI had her contact info. He'd interviewed her as part of his initial research. It turned out, Maya had been unwittingly covering for Chloe for months. Chloe would tell her she was going on a date with this great new guy Max, and could she please just say they were together if I asked. Maya, thinking Chloe was just dating around, agreed, not wanting to get in the middle of a friend's marriage. When the PI showed her the full timeline, the fact that Max was the married woman's affair partner, not a new boyfriend, Maya was livid. She felt used, duped. I reached out. We met at a quiet coffee shop in Pasadena, the kind with exposed brick and too many people on laptops. Maya was a few years younger than us, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense way of speaking. She was still angry. "I can't believe she did that to you," she said, stirring her latte aggressively. To me, I felt like such an idiot. She'd text me, "Hey, just a heads up, if my husband asks, I was with you tonight." I thought she was just, covering her bases on a new relationship. I didn't know she was married. "It's not your fault," I said. "She's a professional." She made me complicit in her bullshit. Maya shook her head. "So, what's your plan? Just the divorce?" "I don't know yet," I admitted. "But talking to you, it helps to know I'm not the crazy one. That the story she's telling people, the unhappy wife, checked out husband story, isn't the whole truth." Maya leaned forward. "My ex-boyfriend cheated on me," she said, "with a girl from his work, and his friends all told me I was being controlling and insecure. The gaslighting is the worst part. It makes you doubt your own reality. They tell you you're crazy for reacting to the thing they, destroy." Exactly, I said. The word came out with more force than I intended. She looked me in the eye and told me I was a bitter, resentful person for not getting over it, for not giving her a chance. Maya scoffed. "The audacity is breathtaking. So what do you do when you're not allowed to be angry about the thing that happened, when they rewrite the story so you're the villain?" It was a rhetorical question, but it landed in my chest like a dart. "What do you do?" We talked for another hour. About her ex, about my wife, about the strange, fucked-up kinship you form with someone who's been burned by the same liar. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't about revenge. It was just validating, to be seen and believed, to have someone say, "Yes, that is as insane as it sounds." As I drove home, a thought started to form, not a plan exactly, more like a growing awareness of the weapon they'd handed me. The gaslighting, the rewriting of history, the painting me as the bitter, resentful one. What if I used their own logic against them? What if I gave Chloe exactly what she was so afraid of? The reconciliation phase was a masterclass in manipulation. Chloe, realizing that tears and accusations of bitterness weren't working, switched tactics. She became the dutiful, remorseful wife. She started leaving little notes for me around the house, "Thinking of you. I'm so sorry. I'll wait forever." She sent flowers to my office with a card signed, "With all my love, always." She started cooking my favorite meals and leaving them in the fridge with cling wrap and a sticky note. "For my hard-working husband." My friends, the few who hadn't taken sides, started to waver. "She seems really sorry, man. She's really trying." They didn't see what I saw. They didn't see the performance. The climax of her campaign came on a Thursday night. I was in the living room, reading a brief for work, when she came downstairs. She was wearing a silk robe, the kind she wore on our honeymoon. She walked over slowly and knelt beside my chair. "I miss you, I know," she whispered, her hand on my knee. "I miss us. I miss the way you used to touch me. I'm begging you, let me come home, let me try." Her hand slid higher. It was so calculated, so clinical in its intent, that I almost laughed. This was her Hail Mary. The reconciliation sex. The proof for her own narrative. "See? I tried. I offered myself to him. And he still rejected me. He really is the cold, bitter one." I looked down at her. Her eyes were wide, pleading, but I saw the calculation behind them. She wasn't offering herself to me out of love or desire. She was offering herself as a bargaining chip, a piece of evidence to be used later. She wanted to be able to say, "I tried everything, even sex, and he still wouldn't forgive me." "Chloe, get up," I said, my voice tired. "Please," she whispered, leaning in. "Let me make it up to you. Let me show you how much I want you. It was only ever a sexual thing with him. Meaningless. But with you it's real. Only a sexual thing. As if that made it better. as if taking the most intimate part of our marriage and giving it to someone else for 2 years was somehow less of a betrayal because there weren't feelings involved. The sheer, illogical absurdity of it. "You don't get it," I said, gently moving her hand away. "It's not about the sex, it's about the 2 years of lying, it's about making me feel crazy, it's about every time you came home from him and got into bed with me. The sex was just the act. The lie was the relationship." The mask slipped, just for a second. The pleading eyes hardened, and I saw a flash of the old Chloe, the one who had called me bitter, but she quickly shuttered it, replacing it with fresh tears. "So, that's it?" she whispered, standing up, pulling the robe tight around her. "You won't even try? You'd rather be alone and resentful than happy with me." "I'd rather be alone than live another minute of my life as a prop in yours," I said, returning to my brief. "Close the door on your way out." She stood there for a long moment, staring at me. Then, without another word, she turned and walked away. I heard the bedroom door slam upstairs. The performance was over for the night. The next day, my lawyer, Diana, called. "Just a heads up," she said. "Your wife's lawyer is trying to introduce evidence of a good faith effort at reconciliation. They're claiming you're being unreasonable and emotionally abusive by refusing to engage." "Of course they are," I said, rubbing my eyes. "She claims she's been trying to work on the marriage, that she's been physically intimate with you as a show of commitment, and you've rebuffed her cruelly." I almost laughed. "She came on to me last night, it was a setup, she wanted to be able to say that." "Exactly," Diana said. "It's a common tactic. They try to manufacture evidence of their own good intent. Don't worry, it doesn't hold water against a 2-year pattern of infidelity, but it shows you what you're dealing with. What I was dealing with was a woman who saw our entire relationship as a game to be won. She didn't want me. She wanted to win. She wanted to control the narrative, to be the wronged party in the end."
The next move in Chloe's game was marriage counseling. She suggested it through her lawyer, presenting it as a final, desperate attempt to save our union. My lawyer advised against it, but I agreed. Not because I thought it would work, but because I wanted to see it. I wanted to see the dynamic play out in a room with a neutral third party. I wanted to watch her try to gaslight a professional. Dr. Angeli was a calm, middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Her office was all beige and soft lighting, designed for maximum emotional safety. For our first session, Chloe and I sat on opposite ends of a plush sofa, a chasm of leather and cushions between us. Chloe went first. She was brilliant. She talked about feeling neglected, about my long work hours, about how she felt she'd lost herself in the marriage. She talked about the affair as a symptom of a deeper disconnect. She cried. She took responsibility, sort of, using words like, "my poor choices," and "my weakness." It was a masterful performance, designed to elicit sympathy. Dr. Angeli listened, nodding, then turned to me. "And how does that make you feel, hearing her perspective?" I took a deep breath. "It makes me feel like I'm listening to a book report about a marriage I don't recognize," I said. "She's talking about feeling disconnected for the last 2 years. I'm talking about the last 2 years of being systematically lied to. She's talking about her poor choices. I'm talking about 730 days of active, calculated deception." Chloe's jaw tightened. "I'm trying to be honest here. I'm trying to take accountability." "You're trying to contextualize," I shot back. "You're trying to find a reason for it that isn't just, 'I wanted to and I didn't care about the consequences.' You're trying to make it my fault for not noticing you were unhappy, instead of your fault for not using your words like a goddamn adult and telling me." Dr. Angeli held up a gentle hand. "Let's stay in I feel statements. David, can you tell Chloe how her actions made you feel without assigning blame?" "Fine," I said, turning to Chloe. "When you lied to me for 2 years, it made me feel insane. When you told me I was paranoid for questioning receipts and late nights, it made me question my own grip on reality. When I found out the truth, it made me feel like the last 7 years of my life were a lie. And now, when you sit here and frame this as a marital disconnect and a symptom, it makes me feel like you still don't understand that what you did wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. A choice you made thousands of times, every single day, for 2 years. Chloe's eyes welled up. "I do understand," she whispered. I'm so sorry. But Dr. Angeli was looking at Chloe now, a thoughtful expression on her face. Chloe, David mentions a 2-year timeline. Can you help me understand that? Often, when we talk about affairs as a symptom, they are shorter, a reaction to a specific crisis. A 2-year affair is a significant investment of time and emotional energy. It suggests a parallel relationship, not just a reaction. I saw the flicker of panic in Chloe's eyes. The counselor wasn't playing along. She was listening to logical reason. Chloe stammered. I was scared. I was confused. I didn't know how to get out. It just happened. And then it kept happening. Things like this don't just keep happening for 2 years without a lot of active effort to maintain them, Dr. Angeli said, her voice still calm, but the words were a scalpel. Secrets, lies, scheduling. That takes a tremendous amount of energy. It's not a passive act. Chloe was floundering. The narrative she'd so carefully constructed was being dismantled. She looked at me, and for the first time I saw genuine fear in her eyes. Not fear of losing me, but fear of losing control of the story. The session ended shortly after. As we walked out to the parking lot, Chloe turned on me, her voice a low, furious hiss. Thanks for that. You just had to make me look like the monster, didn't you? You just had to twist everything. I didn't twist anything, I said, unlocking my car. I just told the truth. You should try it sometime. It's actually a lot less work.
The counseling sessions continued for a few more weeks, but they were pointless. Dr. Angeli saw through Chloe's performance, and Chloe knew it. She started refusing to attend, claiming the counselor was biased and taking your side. She went back to the old playbook. Texts filled with venom one day, and pleas for a second chance the next. Meanwhile, Maya and I kept talking. Our coffee meetings became more frequent. We'd talk about our days, about movies, about the fucked up nature of the people who had wronged us. It was easy. Uncomplicated. One evening, we went for a hike in Griffith Park. The sun was setting, painting the city in shades of gold and pink. We stopped at an overlook, catching our breath. I have to tell you something, I said, leaning on the railing. Chloe's lawyer is trying to paint me as the bad guy. They're saying I'm being unreasonable, that I'm not giving her a chance. And my friends, some of them are starting to believe it. They think I'm evil for not forgiving her. Maya looked at me, her expression unreadable. And why isn't she concerned about being evil for having an affair for 2 years? Exactly, I laughed, but it was a hollow sound. It's like they've all read the same script. People make mistakes. She's only human. You have to try to forgive. People do make mistakes, Maya said. But a mistake is, it happened, and I came forward with it the next morning. Not this. Not a secret life. She shook her head. You know what my favorite part is? The hypocrisy. She's furious at me for talking to you. She's told a bunch of people that you're probably just having a revenge affair with me, that I'm just the other woman, trying to steal you from her. The irony was so thick you could choke on it. The other woman, I repeated. She's projecting hard. She's terrified, Maya said, turning to face me. She's terrified because she thinks I'm younger, prettier, and I'm not a cheater. She's not fighting for you because she loves you. She's fighting for you because she can't stand the idea of another woman winning you. If I was ugly, she wouldn't give a shit. Maya's words hit me like a bolt of lightning. It was so obvious. Chloe's desperation had nothing to do with me. It was about her ego. She'd traded me in for a newer model, a sexual thrill. And now that the new model was gone and I was moving on, her prize, the faithful, devoted husband, was being claimed by someone else. The ultimate insult. You're not the other woman, I said, the words coming out before I could stop them. You're the first woman in a long time who's made me feel like I'm not crazy. Maya smiled, a real smile, not the tight, sarcastic ones she usually wore. Likewise. We stood there in silence for a moment, watching the city lights flicker on below. It wasn't a grand, romantic gesture. It was something quieter and more profound, a recognition, a connection built on the ruins of other people's lies. When I got home that night, I had a text from Chloe. I heard you were at Griffith Park with your new girlfriend. Nice. Real classy. You couldn't even wait for the divorce to be final. You're just as bad as I am. I didn't respond, but I thought about it. Was I? Was talking to someone, finding solace in a kindred spirit, the same as fucking someone else for 2 years? The very question was an insult. I texted Maya. According to Chloe, you're now my girlfriend, just a heads up. Her reply came instantly. Should I start acting jealous and possessive, or is that more her style? I laughed out loud. It was the first genuine laugh I'd had in months. The divorce proceedings churned on, a slow, expensive machine designed to bleed you dry. Chloe, through her lawyer, fought over everything. A set of antique lamps her grandmother had given us, a painting we'd bought on our honeymoon. She didn't want the things. She wanted to make it hurt. The smear campaign intensified. I heard from mutual friends that she was telling people I'd been emotionally abusive for years, that I'd isolated her from her friends, that my coldness had driven her into another man's arms. She painted a picture of a long-suffering wife, trapped in a gilded cage with a monster, who finally found a brief respite in the arms of a kind, understanding man. I was the villain in her story. The bitter, resentful husband who refused to let her be happy. One Saturday, I was at the house, packing up the last of my books. I was moving into a new apartment in Silver Lake. Clean slate. The doorbell rang. It was our neighbor Linda, an older woman who had always been friendly with Chloe. She had a casserole dish in her hands. "Oh, David," she said, her face a mask of pity. "I'm so sorry about everything. Chloe told me you were moving out. I just wanted to bring you this. For the road." "That's very kind, Linda, thank you." I took the dish. It was heavy, still warm. "She's just devastated, you know," Linda continued, lowering her voice. "She told me about the new woman. I know it's hard, but try not to be too angry with her. These things happen. People make mistakes, and you have to admit, you did work an awful lot." I felt the familiar rage bubble up, but I pushed it down. "Thank you for the casserole, Linda. I appreciate it." I closed the door and stood in the foyer, holding the warm dish. The gaslighting wasn't just for me anymore. It was for the whole world. She had rewritten history so thoroughly that I was now the villain who had driven his poor, fragile wife to infidelity and was now callously moving on with a younger woman while she wept at home. I thought about all of it, the 2 years of lies, the only sexual affair, the attempted reconciliation sex, the biased counselor, the smear campaign, the sheer breathtaking audacity of it all. She had done the thing, and she had made me the bad guy for reacting to it. I put the casserole in the fridge. I wasn't going to eat it, but I kept it there, a testament to the alternate reality she was building. That night, I called Maya. "Can I ask you a weird favor?" "Sure. Can we take a picture together? Nothing crazy. Just a selfie. At a restaurant or something. Maybe with a timestamp." There was a pause, and then a low chuckle. "You want to give her something to really cry about, don't you?" "No," I said. "I want to control the narrative. She's telling everyone I moved on before the divorce was final. She's telling them I was probably cheating on her with you for months. If that's the story she's telling, why not give her the proof? The truth won't matter to her people. They already believe her. But for the people who are on the fence, a picture of me smiling with another woman a month after I caught her in a hotel room, that doesn't look like a long-term affair. That looks like a man who was finally free." Maya laughed, a real, delighted laugh. "You're learning. I'm in. Where are we going for this incriminating photo op?" We went to a little wine bar in Los Feliz, low lighting, good music, crowded enough to have witnesses. We took a few selfies, smiling, our heads close together, just two friends having a nice time. I posted one to my Instagram story with the caption, "Good company, good wine, good night." I made sure my location was visible. The reaction was immediate and predictable. My phone started buzzing within minutes. A text from a mutual friend. "Dude, is that the new girl? You move fast." Another. "Chloe is losing her shit right now. Just FYI." I didn't respond to any of them. I just let the story sit there, a small, public counterpoint to the private narrative she was weaving. The next day, I got a call from Diana. "Your wife's lawyer just sent over a new filing. They're amending their claim to include marital misconduct on your part. They're alleging you were engaged in an extramarital affair with Amaya prior to the separation, citing your social media post as brazen evidence of a long-term relationship." I couldn't help it. I laughed, a deep, genuine laugh that came from my gut. The audacity, the sheer, stupid, magnificent audacity. "Diana," I said, still chuckling, "can you please send them in response the full time-stamped GPS data from my car for the last 6 months, and my phone records, and the signed affidavit from Maya herself, stating that we met for the first time after the PI's investigation, and that our relationship is and always has been platonic." Diana was quiet for a moment, then she laughed too. "Oh, this is going to be fun. Their case just went up in flames. They've officially overplayed their hand." They had. By trying to paint me as the cheater, they had opened the door to discovery. My lawyer could now demand all of Chloe's communication records, further cementing the timeline of her affair and completely demolishing their claim of my infidelity. The smear campaign had backfired spectacularly. A few days later, the settlement offer came through. It was generous. In her lawyer's words, they wanted to avoid further costly litigation and the public embarrassment of a trial. Chloe had finally realized that the story she'd tried to tell wouldn't hold up in a court of law. The gaslighting worked on friends, on neighbors, on Linda with her casserole. But it didn't work on a judge. I signed the papers. It was over. 6 months later, I was in my new apartment in Silver Lake. It was smaller than the house, but it was mine. The walls were a deep, calming blue. My books were unpacked and organized on new shelves. The furniture was a mix of old favorites and new pieces I'd picked out myself. No ghosts here. Maya was on the couch, reading a script for work. We'd kept seeing each other, our friendship deepening into something more. It wasn't a frantic, desperate thing like my marriage had become. It was slow, steady, and built on a foundation of, not lying to each other. The mail slot clattered. I went to the front hall and picked up the small pile. Bills, a catalog, and a small white envelope with no return address. I opened it. Inside was a single plastic key card from the W Hotel. For a second, my heart stopped. A cold hand gripped it, but then I flipped it over. On the back, in her familiar looping handwriting, was a note. "Thought you might want a souvenir, since you like collecting evidence so much. Hope you're happy with your new girlfriend. I hope she knows what a bitter, resentful person she's getting. You ruined my life. I hope you're proud." I stared at it for a long moment. The key card that had once felt like a live coal was just a piece of plastic now, a relic from another life. "You okay?" Maya's voice came from the living room. I walked back in, holding the card. "Chloe sent me a little parting gift." Maya raised an eyebrow. I handed it to her. She read the note, and a slow smile spread across her face. "Wow. She really doesn't get it, does she?" "No," I said, sitting down next to her. "She never will." I thought about the last 2 years. The agony, the self-doubt, the rage, the slow, painful process of putting the pieces of myself back together. And I thought about Chloe's final message. "You ruined my life." She was wrong. She had ruined her own life. All I did was refuse to let her ruin mine along with it. I was proud, not of the revenge, but of the survival, of finally seeing clearly, of walking away from a woman who would rather destroy me than admit she was wrong. I took the keycard from Maya and walked over to the kitchen. I opened the junk drawer, the one with the takeout menus, the spare batteries, the random screws. I tossed the card inside, next to an old box of birthday candles, a souvenir. From the fire I walked through and came out the other side. "Hey," Maya said softly. "You okay?" I looked at her, at the warm light in the room, at the city lights twinkling outside the window, at the life that was mine, truly mine, for the first time in years. "Yeah," I said, sitting back down beside her. "I really am.